Now, time for our regular guest, who also happens to be a delegate at the National Conference. He's also the president and founder of ANAP Foundation, a non-profit organization committed to promoting good governance. He is at Tedo Peter's side. In this interview, he speaks on the happenings at the conference with our reporter, Olumide Macaulay.
How has committee work been this week?
I think so far so good. At least some of us have made phenomenal progress in our committees. But I understand that a few committees have not achieved the same level of progress. In fact, the feedback I got was something like 40% of the committees were completely up to date with the original timetable. But let me also confess that the original timetable was very tight. So unless you were on a committee where you were able to very quickly establish consensus, it would have been a bit difficult for all the committees to achieve consensus on the long list of issues they had before them.
So you're saying that the timetable wasn't realistic?
I won't use the word unrealistic. I think it was optimistic. That's the word I would use. It was optimistic. And also, I gave the example of the committee I'm involved in. We more or less reached on virtually all the important items. We reached consensus. So that if we have more time, what we use the time for is to improve the quality of our recommendations by doing a bit more homework, inviting a bit more experts to double check what we have resolved and things like that. But I understand one or two committees were deadlocked. So for them, I guess they need to work on it, debate more, dialogue, try and reach some compromise.
One issue that was a bone of contention among some committees is that of state policing. Some believe that Nigeria is not ready for it. What is your view?
This state police thing is complicated. I can see both sides of the arguments. People worry about how responsible our state governments are, basically. I think those who don't want state police, they worry about how responsible our state governors are. And I must say the utterances of one or two governors recently has not helped. But conversely, you also have to agree and believe that it is very difficult to handle policing efficiently from a central federal unit, because there's local knowledge involved. There's a reason why in America you've got the police in fact, sometimes it's even by city, New York, LA, LAPD and things. Now, it means that every policeman only gets posted within LAPD or within New York, so that there's local knowledge and expertise, and the average policeman knows his city very well. Even if you're moving from Bronx to Queens or from Queens to Harlem, it's within New York. Now in Nigeria, a large country, diverse peoples, geographical terrain, very different languages. If you're running the federal police, somebody grew up in Calabar all his life. He never left his state before Cross River. He joins the police force. One day you transfer him from Calabar to Maiduguri or Sokoto. When he gets there, how effective might he be in policing? He's new on the scene, he's learning, he's trying to understand the people, the culture, the behavior, the surroundings, the geography. So you can almost say that the odds are against him. So I've given you some of the most basic arguments for and against. The one being that local knowledge is vital in policing. And I'm not sure that if a federal police force, a Nigeria police force, unless they consciously, constantly only post officers and men to areas where they have adequate local knowledge, or make sure that at any point in time there are enough policemen in a particular geographical area who have the required local knowledge. Don't forget also that policing is also about building up trust with the community. And the information comes from the locals. And so if you're a policeman who has been patrolling the streets of London for the last 15 years, or the streets of New York, the chances are that you have your own contacts, you have people that you know in the community, those who give you tips, those who help you with your work. So sometimes we lose all of that in Nigeria by just transferring somebody from Port Harcourt to Kano and vice versa.
A lot of Nigerians believe that Nigeria needs state policing, especially in view of the current security situation in the country. Is there a possibility that it can be approved by the full House and recommended further?
I don't want to preempt the full House. I've seen enough of this national conference to know that, look, there are 490 people, delegates, some with vast experience, different walks of life, different exposure. I will not sit down here and begin to preempt the full House. I think even the committees themselves will be well advised not to try and take the full House for granted. Because the first thing the committees have to do is to try and sell their reports to the main House. And it won't be easy.
In the Committee on Devolution of Power, the issue of what remains on the exclusive list and what is taken out was a major contention amongst some delegates. Take item 39, for instance, which deals with mines and minerals, including oil fields. It was particularly problematic amongst delegates. What is your position?
When this matter comes to the main House, I have my own views and I've already expressed them before. It's not so much whether it's an exclusive list or whether it's or whatever arrangement. It's about justice. And I think what we have presently, I want to show you that there's even something in between, a hybrid solution. What we have presently is to say it's all federal law that guides what happens on minerals. But then that federal law itself is defective in the sense that by the time the federal law specifies that royalties, 100% of royalties that accrue from mining or producing minerals from my community are transferred to the account of the federation. I mean, many of us will question that up front. Almost everywhere else in the world I know, a slice of royalties will stay with the immediate community where we are producing the minerals. And if you think very carefully, that is the origin of all this militancy in the Niger Delta. That is the origin of all these claims of people suffering from the environmental consequences with absolutely no benefits. If you were getting a slice of royalties, and I'm talking about to the immediate community, I didn't say you transfer a slice of royalties to the state governor, to the federal government. Because if you think very carefully, for some communities, the state governor is as far away as the federal government almost. In fact, there are communities that have better access to the presidency for political reasons than their own governor. So the point I'm making is that justice is about ensuring that if I come to your back garden in Zamfara, dig up the place, poison your groundwater, produce precious minerals, a slice of royalty should go to the immediate community. And please notice, I'm talking about the community. And that includes indigenes and all residents. It also includes non-indigenes. It's not about your ethnic origin. It is about the community that is being inconvenienced or the community that is supporting the production of income and an activity, getting a slice of that. It's about justice. In the UK, a slice of royalties from shale gas goes to the communities defined as residents. In the US, in fact, it's more dramatic in the sense that there's this, I believe, any minerals found on your land, beneath your land, belong to you. So the person who wants to exploit it has to negotiate with you. So in our own case, we had this situation where we say it's a federal law. But then that federal law is so defective because it just assumes that you can come to my house in Zamfara or Kogi, take minerals away, give me nothing. Even all this talk about whether the companies will do something for the community is voluntary. My point is that it shouldn't be voluntary. A slice of royalties. If royalties are at the price you pay to extract minerals from somewhere, so as you're extracting that mineral, it makes sense to give a slice. I'm not going to go into arguments as to what the slice should be. But the point I'm making is that at present, our laws say that slice is zero. And that doesn't make any sense, because if you make that slide 0, then the immediate community actually has no interest in having you produce minerals from their village or town. You want a situation where when they get a slice of royalties, it means that the larger your production, the more income they get. So they will be the ones even protecting you and encouraging you to produce more.